Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a really fantastic, complete cinematic lecture presented by Dr. Chem. The topic, mole-volume relationships for gases. Specifically, we're going to look at exactly how we calculate gas volumes directly from chemical equations. Now look, I know stoichiometry can sometimes make people break out in a cold sweat, but honestly, don't even worry about it. We are going to build a mental toolkit today that makes the whole process make perfect sense.
To kick things off, I want you to do something for me. Just take a deep breath. Go on, right now. In and out. Okay, so how did you actually just do that? Mechanically speaking, your diaphragm, that muscle right underneath your lungs, literally just shifted downward. And that simple, everyday movement increased the volume inside your chest cavity. That increase in volume dropped the pressure in your lungs, which instantly caused the higher pressure air outside to rush right in. It's brilliant, really.
So here is our cognitive roadmap for today. We'll start with those mechanics of a breath. Then we'll move into moles, volume, and Avogadro. Next, we build our toolkit with the ideal gas law. Then we look at a massive time saver called the STP shortcut. And we'll wrap it all up with gas stoichiometry.
All right, part 1, the mechanics of a breath, science in your lungs.
Now, what's really interesting here is grounding these super abstract variables, like pressure, volume, and moles, in a completely everyday phenomenon. You might assume you'd need some kind of massive vacuum to pull air into your body, right? But actually, under normal conditions, it takes a tiny, almost microscopic pressure difference of just 1 to 2 torr to draw in a standard half-liter breath of air. Think about that. If room temperature is hovering around, say, 22 degrees Celsius, you're pulling in roughly 0.021 moles of air with every single normal breath. That works out to about 0.6 grams of air. So yeah, it's not a massive amount of weight, but you do it thousands of times a day. It just proves that these invisible gas laws are literally keeping us alive. So okay, we know how volume and pressure keep us breathing, but how do we quantify that volume when we start adding more gas into the mix?
Which brings us to section 2, moles, volume, and Avogadro, the birthday party analogy.
To figure out that exact question about quantifying gas, we have to turn to Amedeo Avogadro's foundational rule. Avogadro's law states that equal volumes of gases at the same temperature and pressure contain an equal number of particles. To really visualize this, picture this famous 19th century scientist at like a random kid's birthday party. He picks up a flat, uninflated balloon and just starts blowing it up. With every single breath, he is physically adding more moles of gas into the balloon, right? And obviously the balloon's volume expands. He proved that as long as pressure and temperature stay locked in, the volume of a gas is directly proportional to the number of moles of that gas.
And this brilliantly illustrates the contrasting behaviors of gases based on the laws we've been exploring. Boyle's law? Well, that's the lone inverse relationship. If you squeeze a gas, meaning you increase the pressure, the volume shrinks. But Avogadro's law, along with Charles's law for temperature, those are direct relationships. If you add more moles of gas, like blowing into that balloon, or if you heat the gas up, the volume expands right along with it. Okay, so now that we've looked at pressure, volume, temperature, and moles as independent pieces of the puzzle, it is time to bring the whole shebang together.
Moving into section 3, the ideal gas law, the complete mathematical toolkit.
This right here is the ultimate toolkit. It combines all those independent properties into one elegant, honestly beautiful mathematical relationship. PV equals nRT. P is pressure, V is volume, N is the number of moles, and T is your temperature. And then, right in the middle, you've got R. That's the ideal gas law constant, which basically acts as the glue that makes the whole equation work depending on the units you're using. But listen, the absolute golden rule here, and literally the #1 place where people trip up and make mistakes is the temperature. Whenever you touch this equation, your temperature must always be in Kelvin. Absolutely no Celsius allowed.
Up next, section 4, the STP shortcut, standard temperature and pressure.
So using PV equals nRT is incredibly powerful, for sure, but let's be honest, it can get mathematically tedious. Thankfully, there is a genius shortcut to bypass all that heavy algebra, but only under certain conditions. Behold the magic number, 22.4. The crucial point here is that exactly 1 mole of any ideal gas at standard temperature and pressure takes up exactly 22.4 liters of space. It genuinely does not matter if it's a heavy argon gas or a super light hydrogen gas. If your conditions are standard, 1 mole equals 22.4 liters. It's essentially a universal constant for ideal gases.
But you've got to remember, this shortcut comes with some very strict rules.
Standard temperature and pressure, or STP for short, means you have to be at exactly 0 degrees Celsius, which is 273 Kelvin, and exactly 1 atmosphere of pressure. You can only use that 22.4 liters per mole conversion under these exact baseline conditions. And the reason we do this? Standardizing these conditions is exactly what allows chemists to easily compare completely different gases on a totally even playing field. So we've got our concepts down, and we've built our toolkit. Now let's actually transition from theoretical laws to solving real multi-step chemical reactions.
Finally, Section 5, Gas Stoichiometry in Action, from concept to calculation.
Let's move to this visual and see how this all builds together. This right here is your standard pathway for solving gas stoichiometry problems. And you'll probably notice right away, it looks a whole lot like normal stoichiometry. You still have to use molar mass to go from grams to moles, and you absolutely still need that mole ratio from your balanced equation to convert moles of substance A into moles of substance B. The only real twist is at the very ends of the flowchart. Once you have the moles of your gas, you finally get to use our new gas laws to find the volume, or vice versa.
Now, if word problems usually scare you, just take a breath and rely on this concrete roadmap. We can take any intimidating gas stoichiometry problem and break it down into 4 totally manageable procedural actions. Step 1, balance your chemical equation. Literally always start there. Step 2, convert your given mass into moles using molar mass. Step 3, apply the mole ratio from that balanced equation to figure out the moles of your target gas. And finally, step 4, convert those moles into volume. Simple as that. But wait, that final step 4 is where you actually have to make a bit of a choice. This is your clear decision matrix. Just ask yourself, is the reaction happening at STP? If the problem specifically states the temperature is 273 Kelvin and the pressure is 1 atmosphere, take the shortcut. Just multiply your moles by 22.4 liters per mole. Boom, you're entirely done. But if you're dealing with non-standard conditions, let's say it's a super hot summer day or it's under high pressure, you cannot use 22.4. You have to grab your ideal gas law toolkit and plug those moles into PV equals nRT to solve for volume. By following this kind of structured approach, calculating gas volumes from chemical equations basically just becomes another predictable puzzle. But before we wrap up, I do want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to ponder. See, throughout this entire explainer, we have completely relied on the concept of an ideal gas. We're assuming gas particles don't interact with each other at all and take up 0 space. But out in the real world, under extreme pressures or super cold temperatures, gases actually stop behaving ideally. So what exactly happens to our perfectly balanced stoichiometry calculations then? Well, that is a fascinating limit to our toolkit, and it's exactly what we're going to explore in our next explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.